Good morning, everyone. My name is Dennis Acuna, and this is my Multimedia Discussion Board Week 6 presentation. And I chose the Food and Drug Administration, or also known as the FDA. This is for June 16th submittal for summer 2018 semester. Okay, on my paper, I selected 3 random people I ran into throughout the week and asked them a very simple question about the FDA. Do you feel that the federal authority of the Food and Drug Administration needs to be expanded or reduced, and why do you feel the way you do? I got a kind of a mixed bag of responses, and at the end of my presentation, I'll kind of summarize and tell you what I thought of this whole process. So the first person I came across was a lady named Judy. Judy was very pro-government in all facets. She said that the FDA needed to be expanded so people stop being killed by pharmaceutical companies, and that the government needs to step in to take care of the common folk, as she put in her words. Um, so based on her responses and her sentiment towards the federal government, I kind of put her in the kind of the liberal spectrum with kind of a strong sense or want for like regulated cooperative federalism, a lot of oversight from the federal government. And we all know that cooperative federalism kind of came from or started during the New Deal era, Franklin D. Roosevelt back in the 1930s, and has come in and kind of transformed the way the government's ran today. Next, I came across a gentleman named Joe. Joe didn't answer right away because he didn't know what the FDA was. So I quickly briefed him about a minute or so of what the FDA was, which at the end of this presentation, you understand why it really doesn't matter. And he was on the opposite side of the spectrum where he was saying that government has too much oversight of us and that we should be left alone and FDA shouldn't have to mandate food and drugs in our everyday life. And that's more of early way thinking, I guess you would say dual federalism, where the federal government was only responsible for a couple items and left the rest to the state. I brought in Constitution, I brought in Bill of Rights Amendment 10, which states that the power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. So that kind of goes on that sentiment. So I found this an interesting article online for a website called the 10th Amendment. They talk about FDA not being constitutional, and a lot of these agencies use the Commerce Clause, the Interstate Commerce Clause, which is in the Constitution. I believe it's Article 8, or Article 1, Section 8, sorry. But it specifically talks about doing business between the governments, tribal, and so forth, but it doesn't talk about businesses between private and the people. So and that's something that a lot of people in that realm kind of use as an argument. Lastly, I came across a lady named Sarah. She wasn't my third person. This is probably like the sixth or seventh person, but the other people didn't really have a say. She was interesting because she really didn't have a sense of which way she was. She was more and the reason why I included her in my presentation was she was kind of saying government's going to do what government's going to do no matter what. It doesn't matter what her opinion is because she's too small to overcome big fat government. So she said government's good in small doses, but needs to be limited. So that kind of goes to my overall analysis of this question I asked was I could have asked about any federal agency, the EPA, Department of Education, Health Department, whatever. And I think I would have got the same kind of sentiment from each of these 3 people. it was really broad. They were kind of talking in general terms, not specifically for the FDA. Um, I think in today's climate, the political climate, there's a big divide in our country, which everybody knows, and there's people on both sides of and I kind of picked one from both sides. I would say I got lucky that way. So at the end of the day, we're all going to have our differences, but there is people on both sides of the spectrum that are very passionate about what they feel. Here is a list of my references. Like I mentioned, the 10th Amendment website. There's several articles or statements. It's more of on the conservative side, libertarian kind of website. I also used the U.S. Constitution Amendment 10, Bill of Rights, and also I mentioned about the Interstate Commerce Clause, which is Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. And with that, thank you for listening to the presentation. This is the last one of the year, so I hope everybody, um, enjoys this presentation, and you won't be hearing from me again. Have a great day.